Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our tier list series. It's been a bit of a game show style thing that we've been doing on the channel a little bit. And I know that you guys really enjoy it because the engagement on these have been really, really good. Effectively, what we look at is a specific position in the case of the transfer window, and we rank certain transfer targets about where we would put them. Of course, I'm putting my spin on it and my view on it. And of course, we get your thoughts and feelings in the chat box. But I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well. If you haven't already done so, drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are indeed new around here, with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Dan, hope you're doing good, my friend, despite classically typing too quickly and not being able to get the right words in fast enough. Marcus says, so Tom, when do we get the Bailey tier list featuring all the players that Bailey wants us to get? That might be an Arsenal Way special. We might have to do that over on the Arsenal Way. Always late, says Connor. I mean, always late. You joined in at 4:45. Show's not coming out till 6. So we try and do our afternoon shows at 6. We do set them up well ahead of time, so make sure that you know when they're going to drop. But I think we should stop the waffle and get straight into things and introduce to you our list. Now, if you are new to these shows and you haven't tuned into one of these before, let's explain how this works. We're going to run through all of the wide forwards, wingers, wide playmakers, however you want to describe them, that Arsenal have had links to over the past 6 months or so. And then we're going to get lots of reaction from you guys in the chat box as to where you think we should be placing them. Ultimately, I'm going to put the players where I personally would place them, but you got to give me your thoughts and feelings in the chat box. Now, we try to read out the comments where people explain their choice more, you know, why you've put it in that select category. And our categories are 1 of 5. At the top of our list, we've got the Do It Now, the next day delivery section. If you want this player more than anything, that's the category you're going to be shouting out for our specific players. We go through the very good buy section, slightly one down from that. You know, maybe he's not your top priority person for this, but in terms of a player that you still like very much, goes in the very good buy. The I'm happy is not necessarily a player that you want, but if turned up at the club, you know, you still wouldn't really turn your nose up at it. The I would steer clear, or the Bailey tier, because, you know, players that Bailey loves for some reason, I just can't get my head around. So we call it the I would steer clear. So whilst it's a tier that I'd personally, or in the case you would steer clear of, other people may not be. It's more of a divisive category. And lastly, we have the stay away from here section, which is the, no one wants this guy. And so it goes into the stay away from here, which actually, to be fair, there might be some difficulties with that one. I don't know if any on this list I might be putting into that section. We'll have to wait and see how this one goes. So we're going to kick off. And as always, of course, I've usually forgotten 1 or 2 players that you have wanted to see put in this. So when we get to the end of these players, if there are any players that you think we've missed that have been obviously linked to Arsenal, I've somehow managed to forget them, we'll tackle those at the end. Now, there's only one place to start with these, of course, and that is with the one and only Rafinha. So let us know in the chat box where Rafinha is going for you. Is he going in the Do It Now section? Is he wanting? Do you want this guy in the club tomorrow? As in, get him in to the club ASAP. Or is it very much different to that? Is it the stay away from here section, the I would steer clear section? I want to know what you guys' thoughts are and feelings, and let me know why you want this player or not. Marcus is going for a very good buy. Safiso says, after hearing that Leeds want £65 million from Do It Now, you've gone to I would be happy. Wow, the price putting people off, it seems. Matt says, very good buy. Craig says, do it now. Big Fats of Lackey says, do it now. Maximus says, very good buy, as does Stephen Hogger. Mafia Boss says, very good buy, as well, as does Anthony. Andreas, very good buy. The price seems too high. Some people just can't seem to get their head around these as much. Vinny says, do it now. He's levels above Martinelli and Smith Rowe. He improves us so much, and he's proven as prolific. For me, I'm agreeing. I'm going in the do it now section for Rafinha. I just think this is one of those absolutely cannot afford to turn this down. If you can go and get a Premier League proven player, yeah, just pay it. Pay it, get him in, do it. Lovely job indeed. Our next one is Serge Gnabry. Now I'm going to throw this one straight in the do it now tier. I don't need any explanation for this. Serge Gnabry is a world-class player that we let go. And unfortunately, probably will never see come back to the Gunners again. Despite these rough links to Serge Gnabry, it's very, very unlikely indeed that Serge Gnabry will return to Arsenal. But if there is ever so slightly small chance that could happen, it has to be a do it now. And unsurprisingly, the chat box is going off with the do it nows and the very good buys. I find it hard to know why it wouldn't be anything other than a do it now. So if you're not in the do it now section, please tell me. I imagine maybe it's something to do with wages. The wages may be part of it. You know, he wants upwards of 300,000 a week, which is obviously a lot of money. So possibly that's one of the reasons why you wouldn't put it into there. And Noeke says, if there's a level above, do it now. That's where Serge belongs. Anthony says, Serge Gnabry's gone to the same day delivery with ease. His wages, as Trag points out, that's probably the big reason as to why. And Patrick says, not Premier League proven yet. He has played in the Premier League, of course. Hasn't been proven as such. But certainly, I think the wages are one of the big reasons as to why Gnabry perhaps doesn't go into that category. The next one is Moussa Diaby of Bayer Leverkusen, France international. Very, very impressive season for Bayer Leverkusen last year. I mean, he got over 30 goals and assists across his entire campaign, playing both domestically and, of course, across European competition. 17 goals, 14 assists. 22 years of age, still very young, ranked at around 50 odd million pounds if you were to go and try and get him. He has to go in the very good buy section for me. Like, those numbers are just unreal for a player of his quality. As I say, already on a French international stage as well. The price would be high. But yeah, when you're getting over 30 goal contributions from a wide position in the Bundesliga at that age, it is very, very impressive indeed. Amir's go saying, I'm happy. Very good buy, says Tawana. I'm happy, says Elliot. I'm happy, says Zander. Do it now for Diaby, says Joe 90. Troy, though, says stay away. I'd love to know, Troy, why you would stay away from Moussa Diaby. Olu says, I am happy with this one. Again, Bundesliga tax, Sancho, Werner, Havertz. I would point out Aubameyang, Heung-min Son, you know, players that have come from the Bundesliga and done well. I'd also argue that Havertz has still done pretty well since moving from the Bundesliga as well. So we shouldn't just write off these players because they've come from the Bundesliga. I think there's been plenty of success stories from the Bundesliga that have come into the Premier League as well. Earl Hart says, I'm not excited by the Rafinha links. We need players in other areas first. Paul says, he's getting better every season, is Moussa Diaby. Very good buy. Troy says, it's only because I want Cody Gakpo. Speaking of which, let's talk about Cody Gakpo. He is our next offering. PSV winger, has played on the majority of his games on the left-hand side, can play through the middle, 23 years of age. He's already a Netherlands international, has 7 caps, has scored twice. Last season, he got 21 goals and 15 assists in 46 appearances. That's getting a goal contribution more than once every 1.5 games. Very, very exciting player. For me, he goes in the very good buy section of this list. I wouldn't put him up there with Rafinha and Serge Gnabry, but he's certainly a very, very good alternative. I think if there's a possibility of getting him in, you should be trying to get him in. Chris P says, Gakpo is a do it now. Henri vibes, baby. Harvey says, do it now. Craig says, very good buy is Cody Gakpo. Very good buy, says Elliot, as does Tom. And Matt's pointing out that he's being linked quite heavily with Leeds. Leeds looking for a replacement should Rafinha leave this summer, and it is expected that he probably will. And Gakpo is seen as a potential replacement for Rafinha at Leeds next season. Anthony says, very good buy, gives us a different dynamic than we have. Marcus says, oh my God, just fell off my chair. Thought it was a shoo-in for do it now. Look, I really rate him. Don't get me wrong. And that's why he's in the very good buy section. But the do it nows, you know, we're reserving in this list because there's a lot of really good options on this list. We're going to struggle to fit them in, I think, arguably with the top 2 tiers because there's so many good options in this position. But for me, the do it nows have to be reserved for the world-class talents for this one because there are potential options. Let's go to Anthony, who says, very good buy. Onyx Lens says Gakpo screams bust to me. Stay away. Wow, that is brave for a player that's got as many goal contributions as he has last season. Noa Lang, Dutch international, played for Club Brugge across last season. Very highly rated. Could be going to Milan this summer. However, has got a bit of an attitude problem. I'm going for the stay away from here section. I'm not even going to attempt in putting him in the I would steer clear. This is someone that came out and basically called the entire Belgian league that they will miss Noa Lang and that he hopes that another Noa Lang comes through to the Belgian league. This kid talks too much. Yeah, I absolutely agree with Patrick here. I do not want him at Arsenal at all. Sure, he's got a fair amount of goals. Sure, he's got a lot of potential, but not for me. It's just his character is awful. Absolutely awful. Stay away, says Dan. Stay away, says Mohammed. Jack Elliott says steer clear. Patrick says stay away. Got Gendouzi vibes. Yeah, I get those as well. Tom says steer clear. Gendouzi 2.0 with Zlatan delusions. Onyx Lens says Noa Lang seems like a dude who feels himself too much without reason. Stay away. Paul says stay away from here. He's nuts. Joe says Zlatan has that attitude too. The thing is that Zlatan can back it up. The difference between that is, but Noa Lang's still very, very young indeed. Malcolm says, why do you dislike players who show confidence in themselves? I don't, hence why Rafinha's at the top of this list, as you've probably seen there. There's a way that you direct that energy. Noa Lang just does it in the wrong way. Marco Asensio is our next option. Former channel mascot, if you will. Long-time listeners of the channel will know about my liking of Marco Asensio back in the day before he had his horrific knee injury. But it is because of that horrific knee injury that I'm only putting him in the I'm happy section. I'd even be tempted to put him into the I would steer clear, but because I just think there's so much more potential on offer. However, I think there is still definitely a very, very good player in Marco Asensio. I think that he's got bundles of quality. You show what he's got for Real Madrid last season in games against the likes of Mallorca, etc. I know it's only Mallorca, but he scored 4 goals in those games. I think there is a lot more to come from him, but I can't put anything lower than I'm happy because it would just be wrong for me. So there you go. Let's have a quick look in the chat box of what you're saying. Wesley reckons he should go in the Bailey. He's too good for Bailey. He's too good for Bailey. You can't put Asensio in the Bailey tier. I'm sorry. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. Bin Fat Slovaki says, stay away. Talent is in decline, do you mean? Injury prone does not raise the ceiling. Injury prone's harsh because he's had that one big injury and not really any since then. But yeah, I can see why the injury would be an issue for people. Insing Goma says, Asensio, I'm happy with that one. Ed says, I'm happy. Decent if the other options don't come through. Drew says, I love Asensio, but still concerned about his injury. Personally, I'd just be happy. Marcus says, oh my God, how cruel the Bailey tier is. Stay away, he says, peanut butter jelly time from Asensio. And yes, he did indeed get injured against Arsenal. That's very, very true indeed. Oh no, I can feel the illness starting to get the better of me, so we're going to move on swiftly to Danjuma at Villarreal. I'm interested to know what your guys' thoughts are around Danjuma. Villarreal, former Bournemouth, really pushed on since going to La Liga. Had a really, really solid season under Unai Emery. Be interested to see what happens to him next season. I think there's a lot more to come from him. He's only 25. And last season, he ended up getting 16 goals and 4 assists. I would put him in the I'm happy section. I think that there's more to come from him, as I say, but I don't think I'd go any higher or lower than that. I think for a player like him, what you're looking at is someone that be coming in as a bit of a risk, and he is going quite far down in terms of that risk. I think there are a lot better players out there than him. Harvey says, I don't know him. Bernard says, I'm happy. He's a baller. Tom says, I don't know much about him, to be honest. Olu says, would steer clear. We need an upgrade on Pepe. And Mohammed says, very good buy, though. He's underrated. Mohammed says, very good buy. He's just in that section for me. Happy, says Bernard. He's a bit of a baller. Marcus says, no idea who he is out of respect. I put him in the above the Bailey tier. So I am happy. Let's go to Sinisterra at Feyenoord, who again has been linked with a move to Arsenal. Again, he's a player that I'm not sure many people will know too much about. 23 years of age, 23 goals and 14 assists in 49 games. Really rapid player, playing on the left-hand side for Feyenoord. I think he's a Colombian international. He is indeed. He's got 5 caps already for Colombia. Really exciting player. Let's get those thoughts in the chat box. Let's see what you guys would go for. I'm very, very interested indeed to see what you're going for this one. Marcus says, Feyenoord, so was he better than Nelson? Yes, he was a lot better than Nelson. Peanut Butter Jelly Time says, no steer clear. Zana says, I'm happy. Harvey says, would be a very, very good buy. Matt Thornton says, he looks a baller. I'd be happy with this one. Jack Elliott says, don't know him, wrong for me to rate him. Fair play. If you don't know the player, I don't blame you for not rating him. T-Dot says, if he's pacey, we should sign him because FIFA's the way to go when looking at players. Big Flats of Flacky says, Twitter Tactico's glorified Sinisterra. Not as impressed seeing him in 3 games that I have watched. Paul says, I'm happy. He had a solid season last season, good cover, but not a big upgrade. And I agree. He goes in the I am happy section as well. Very, very good output. But I don't get the Cody Gakpo level vibes off him, despite playing in the same league. The next one is Jarrod Bowen, West Ham United, England international. Had a very, very good Premier League season for West Ham. Big drawback with Jarrod Bowen, and he has been linked to Arsenal, after scoring 17 goals and getting 30 assists. So he crossed over the 30-goal contributions as well. The big drawback with Bowen is the price. Now, as we know from the whole Declan Rice scenario, Jarrod Bowen would cost a absolute mish. He would cost... You're talking 80 mil upwards, I think, to convince West Ham to sell him. I'm looking at his contract now. Runs out in 2025, still has 3 years left. I just think he would be so expensive. I am going to put him in the very good buy because I can't consider putting him below any of those other players on this list for me. He's just... at the end of the day, again, I always use the frame of it's not my money. And I think Moussa Diaby, would be very expensive coming from Bayer Leverkusen. I have to put him in the very good buy. I can't put any lower than that. I certainly wouldn't put him in the do it now because of the price tag. But Jarrod Bowen, it has to be one of the most underrated Premier League players in the league. 30 goal contributions across all competitions last year is a joke. And now he's playing for the English national side. And he's probably Bukayo Saka's biggest threat. And he can play in the middle as well. So there's a lot. There's a lot to go with Jarrod Bowen. Alex says, very good buy. Ed says, I'm happy, but we are buying his absolute peak. He is, in terms of age, 25, so he has got a couple of years before he reaches peak years, I think, or properly, peak years. Tom says, very good, downgraded because of the price. Wesley says, very good, only for that price that doesn't bust the other transfers. Craig says, West Ham want 150 million for Rice. Why Bowen would be stupid cash fee. T-Dot says, you're only rating him because he's English. Not true. I'm rating him because he's got 30 goal contributions playing in English football. Nothing to do with his English, I'm afraid, mate. So you got that one wrong. Jack says, very good buy. Just miss out on it due to the do it now because of the price tag. Can get both Rafinha and Tielemans for the price of Bowen. Adnan says, Bowen is a very decent player. I would say good buy considering his quality and value. Alex says, actually change your mind. It's a do it now. Abhishek says, 80 million for Jarrod Bowen would be a Jack Grealish level. Good player, but not for that price. Incredibly underrated player is Jarrod Bowen. Very underrated indeed. Because he's English, he gets that kind of, he's not, he doesn't get the plaudits I think he deserves. Next is Jeremy Pino. Jeremy Pino has been linked with Arsenal already earlier on in the window. Villarreal, 19 years of age. Very exciting young player. 7 goals, 4 assists last season playing for Villarreal. At 19 years of age. I'd go into the I am happy section. I don't know how much he would end up costing Arsenal, but he's already ranked at £36 million according to Transfermarkt. So that gives you some idea of what Villarreal would be able to cost. But he's exceptionally highly rated. Definitely one of those young Spanish players coming through that you'll see in the national side very, very soon indeed. In fact, he's already got 4 Spanish senior caps and scored for the Spanish national side as well. But yeah, he's played in a number of positions as well. He can play on the left-hand side. He can play on the right-hand side. Mainly does play on the right-hand side, but has played even in the middle at times for Villarreal. So he's got a lot of versatility to him. But again, I think Arsenal are in the moment where they're looking at kind of more established players, and certainly already in their 20s. Pino would be a bit of a risk if we were to go for him. Pilon says, do it now. A serious baller, if you ask me. Don't know much about his adaptability and overall mentality, though. So young, also. David says, Sinisterra went up a level this year, but I think that's the manager getting the best out of him. I wanted Olise since Reading. Wait, hold your horses. We're getting there. Tom says, steer clear because we have many young players already. Need more experience this summer. Fair play. If you're putting him in the steer clear, I don't mind. Because, he's a player that I know a lot of people won't know much about. His age is definitely a factor. So if you're going to put him in the steer clear section, I don't think I can blame you too much for that whatsoever. Apologies, I keep drinking, but I'm struggling a little bit to get through this show now. Omar says, my Wi-Fi is as ill as Tom, so going to have to watch the rest of this on playback. Well, Omar, thanks for dropping in and leaving a message, and I'm sure a like as well. Thank you so much. And if you haven't already dropped a like on the show, guys, please make sure you do. Let's move on to our next one. Ismaila Sarr, very much indeed, very interesting indeed player. Of course, did get quite injured a lot last season for Watford. Relegated with Watford, still their best player by a country mile, easily Premier League quality, but I'm putting him in the Bailey tier. The reason for why is that injury issue. I can't bring myself to say that we should be going in for Ismaila Sarr. I'm not sure he's necessarily an upgrade on what we've already got. And for me, I just can't put him into the same bracket as the others above him there. Max says, I'm happy. Matt G says, stay away from him. Very interesting indeed. Ramsey said he's going in the Bailey tier. Tebow says, I'd take him for £12 million. Peanut Butter Jelly Time says, steer clear. Injury prone. Craig says, Sarr I like a lot, but his injuries make it a problem, as Xander agrees with this. Steer clear because of the injury issues. Ashwin says again, Bailey tier. Mark says, oh my God, no, the Bailey tier. How cruel. I'd go for I'm happy. Stephen says, steer clear. I don't think he improves what we have at the moment, and I think the players at the club have higher potential. Jack says, Sarr is slept on, such a talent, probably the I'm happy or very good buy. If injury concerns, then stay away. Diapollon says, I'm happy if proven at Premier League level, can hit off with a better team around him. And he was linked to the likes of Liverpool, before. He's been linked to significantly decent level clubs. So it's not surprising to see him up there with some of the others that have been suggested. The next one is Pedro Goncalves. Sporting Lisbon player, has been linked to Arsenal in the past, has already played for an English side with Wolves, eventually moved back to Portugal via Spain and was with Valencia for a brief period as well before going to Famalicão. Famalicão, a very interesting side in Portugal. I'd suggest you do some reading up on Famalicão. Really interesting team. Developed there for a season, I think, and then went off to play for Sporting and has just absolutely smashed it. 15 goals, 13 assists, can play in a number of positions, can play right wing, can play left wing, can play second striker. If I just give you his statistics from the season before last for Sporting as well, he ended up getting 23 goals. And that's in the league. Like, that's not across all competitions. 23 goals in the league. If I go to 1920, when he did play for Famalicão, got 7 goals, 8 assists. That was 2 years ago when he was just 21. He's 23 years of age. Now, for me, he would go into the very good buy section. He is a brilliant, brilliant talent. And if you don't know who he is, go and have a watch, because he's something special, is what I would say. But I feel like there may be some different takes on him. So I'm interested to see what you guys are going to say on Pedro. Peanut butter jelly time says, steer clear. Wasn't very good for Wolves. Wow. That is incredibly harsh. Let me tell you what age he was at when he was playing for Wolves, because he left Wolves in 2019. He was 20 when he left Wolves' under-23s side. He didn't play in the senior team for Wolves. He was an under-23s, has moved on, gone back to Portugal, and he's absolutely smashing it now. Alex says, I say steer clear. Zana says steer clear. What? Steer clear? What's wrong with people? He's brilliant. brilliant. Honestly, go and watch the kids. Go and watch him. I beg you, go and watch Pedro Goncalves. He is so good. Marcus says, are you flying us to Portugal to watch him? I will happily send you to Portugal to go and watch him play. He is brilliant. Jack knows what he's talking about. Pedro is a baller. Very good buy. Him and Vieira link up would be prime. Vengerball. T-Dot says, we need more established players who have that star power. Look no further. Look no further. Just saying, he's an established player. He is very good indeed. Already a Portuguese senior international as well. Adnan says Pedro is a very good buy and can play centre forward as well. Easy Al Ed says, I'm happy, but he's a step below the top guys. So there you go. Yeah, but go check him out, genuinely. Tom says, steer clear. He has stupid hair. Don't know who that is. What's wrong with his hair? There's nothing wrong with his hair. Jesus. Anyway, our last pick of the day is Michael Olise from Crystal Palace. Of course, formerly of Reading. We know our boy Daniel Robert in the members crew knows plenty about him. Has really stepped up since moving to the Premier League. Still just 20 years of age. Finished the season with 4 goals and 8 assists, 2 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League. Looks a real talent, this guy. Already a French youth international playing at under 21 level. If Arsenal can get someone like this guy in, I think it would be great. I'm tempted to put him into the very good buy section. I think I'm going to drop him into the I'm happy section. The reason why I'm not putting him in the very good buy section is because I think at the level that we need to go in for a player this summer, I need more output. I need more guarantee. I need more established goal scoring record from a wide position. And Olise hasn't yet got that. That's my justification. You can batter me in the comment section. You can batter me wherever you like in the live chat. You know, I'm putting him in the I'm happy. I just think that he's not got the numbers yet for me to justify this summer him being a pick for Arsenal. Let's see what you guys are saying. Elliot says, very good buy. Amir says, very good buy. Elise is a very good buy, says Zander. He's a good buy, says Bounty Cool. Bucks Lagoon says, I'm happy, but I want more experience. Peanut Butter Julie Times says, steer clear. I want nothing but Rafinha. You can't get wrapped around one player. You'll end up getting disappointed. Diapollon says, Elise, very good buy. What a baller. A wand of a left foot, still young and not established enough. Dan says Elise isn't there for goals and assists. He's there to control the play. And we already have someone who can do that in Martin Odegaard. Wesley says, if he's heavier than Vieira, sign him. Still can't get over how skinny he is. Harvey, you really don't want me on the wing. Honestly, it'd be like Arnautovic with no fitness. That's what it would be like. Just the tall, lanky guy on the, well, not really lanky, but you know what I mean. Just the tall guy on the wing. That's what it would be. There you go. Anthony or Doku would be amongst the top of that list. Haven't been linked to them enough, unfortunately, for me to include them, but they are very highly rated young guys. Harvey Barnes, Fuad says, no, we've not really been linked to Harvey Barnes. I'd put him in the I'm happy section. I don't think I'd go into the very good buy or the do it now for Harvey Barnes. He too has got several injury issues too. But there you go. I mean, let's jump into the chat box quickly, because what we often like to do is, do you roughly agree with the tier lists? Now, so far we've had pretty good feedback on this, but I have a feeling that there might not be as much in today's show. So make sure you vote on today's poll. Do you roughly agree? I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. That would be ridiculous for me to expect it to be perfect. But let me know in the chat box, do you roughly agree with what we've got so far? Let's run it through whilst you're voting. In the stay away from here, we've got Noa Lang. In the I would steer clear, or the Bailey tier, as it's better known, we've got Sarr. The I'm happy section, we've got Marco Asensio, Danjuma, Sinisterra, Yeremy Pino, and Michael Olise. The very good buy section, we've got Moussa Diaby, Cody Gakpo, Jarrod Bowen, and Pedro Goncalves. And in the do it now section, we've got Rafinha and Serge Gnabry. Let's see what the votes are saying in the chat box. Make sure when you voted as well, you're dropping a like on the video, guys, too. Wow, that's not what I expected at all. 84% of you so far saying yes. You do roughly agree with this. 16% saying no. I really thought it was going to be more split on this. I really did think it was going to be more split than that. I thought there was a lot of opinions about these guys. So there you go. Wesley says you should absolutely do one of these with Bailey. Would love to see the feuding. Yeah, we should. To be fair, there is a tier list video out on the Arsenal Way today as well about all of Arsenal's summer signings going back years and years and years and years, all the best ones. So make sure you go and watch that on the channel on the Arsenal Way. Make sure you go and check it out. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up there. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you as always. Do subscribe to the channel if you're new and like the video as well. It really helps. I'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m, keeping you up to date with all the latest Arsenal news. You can go over to the Chronicles of a Gooner and Harry Symeou's channel to check out the latest Canton and Symeou show. We did that earlier on today. Make sure you give it a watch. I look forward to seeing you all, as always, bright and early tomorrow. But have a fantastic evening. And as always, up the Arsenal.